it's Red Eye Radio, with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok, this is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. Always a privilege to join you on Red Eye Radio. The guys, by the way, are having a long weekend, and they will return Sunday night / Monday morning. And, wow, we were given the news just hours ago that Hunter Biden has been indicted in California, in the Central District of California, by a Los Angeles federal grand jury. They have indicted him on 9 counts for a scheme to failing to pay his taxes between 2016 and 2019. He schemed, they say, to evade taxes on millions and millions of dollars of his income, owing $1.4 million in taxes. And this is it, guys. Oh, by the way, the indictment says Hunter spent millions on an extravagant lifestyle, sex clubs, $188,000 on adult entertainment rather than paying his taxes, and all sorts of stuff. So this is it. We're supposed to cheer and clap and say, wow, they got him, and you know, there's going to be justice now, and wow, we're seeing all this justice. Look at this is great. And I don't think it's anything at all that. I was listening to former U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman on Fox News earlier tonight, and I agree with him that there's no way you're going to get justice here with a Biden Justice Department and with David Weiss as a fake special counsel of some sort. The statutes, by the way, call for the special counsel needs to be somebody who is not with the government, which they didn't do because they want to keep it in-house so they can keep it favorable to the Biden family. And that's just what happened. You know why? Isn't it a surprise that every single time something is about to happen that is bad for Biden, anybody with the last name Biden, something comes up, whether it be a new charge on Donald J. Trump, a new case announced, a raid maybe, just kind of like you're looking through a menu and you kind of flip through, you got to pick one of these. What have we not had in a while? Let's charge Trump again. Well, we just had one of those a few months. Well, that's all right. Let's add another one. Throw another one in there. Let's make up, we'll get him for, he's got some documents. Let's do a raid today. Right? Well, let's do that one in New York City and try to take away his businesses, even though there's no harm done with Deutsche Bank and others, and there's no victim in loan payments. Anyways, this time it is the announcement the other day that the Republican House is subpoenaing Hunter Biden from Jim Jordan and James Comer. And then you have Hunter Biden's attorney, Abby Lowell, saying, well, he would be happy. He's just been dying to testify, don't you know? He can't wait. He'll be happy to do that in a public setting. And a public setting means that you only have 5 minutes per congressman. 5 minutes each. So Hunter can do the clown show, stall, drag it out, and then, time's up. Oh, we're so sorry. So the Republican got some talking points in, didn't get Hunter to answer anything other than make fun of him or laugh at him or call him a conspiracy, whatever, make him look bad. And then, wouldn't you know it, the time's up. That's what they want to do. What they don't want is the behind-the-scenes 400 questions, hours and hours and hours and hours, perhaps days. I don't think there's a limit until they get all their questions answered. to every single thing that Hunter has done that appears illegal. And where did that money come from? Where did that money go? You said you had a loan. Your dad said that $200,000 or $40,000 was for a loan. What loan was that for? Where are the documents for that loan? What were the terms of this loan? You have any documentation of this? Was anything signed? What was it about? Do you have a receipt for that you're saying that he loaned you for? Mm-hmm. And what about this one? What about that one? Your father met with you at this cafe with a Russian oligarch's widow and a Romanian criminal type from Romania and some others, you and Hunter at Cafe Milano, and the next day you got a Porsche. And the money wire transfer went into you, then you transferred to the dealership, and then the dealership handed you the keys to a brand new Porsche. What was that for? Did you pay taxes on that? And what did your meeting have to do with that, with your dad and the Russian billionaire oligarch, who, by the way, your dad has not, is the only Russian, billionaire who he hasn't put any sanctions on. He's the only one. Russia, so bad, except for this lady who gave you and Hunter $100 million. A lot of money went to you, too. Anyway, so guess what just happened? They said they would only, Hunter's lawyer, Abby Lowell, said, we will only meet with you and do a public deposition if it's public. So we're not going to go behind the scenes, which is what everybody does that gets subpoenaed. We're not going to go ahead and scenes and let you ask 400 questions for every little thing that is out there so that you can nail them. We'll do something public so we can obfuscate and have time limits of 5 minutes each. The clown show. So then Comer and Jordan make it clear we're not going to accept that. We will do a public hearing later, but this is for a deposition behind the scenes, and that way we, because that's how they're done. We're going to treat you like you treat everybody else, and like we treat everybody else. You're not getting special treatment. So what happened today in result of that? Because what that literally meant was Tuesday. The subpoena they just said this morning, you are going to show up at our subpoena on Wednesday morning of next week, a week from yesterday, or we're going to hold you in a week from 2 days ago, excuse me, since now we're in Friday morning, and or else you're going to be in contempt. And when you're in contempt, we can put you behind bars, which is what they did to Steve Bannon, a Trump supporter and a Trump advisor. And they ended up they ended up putting Steve Bannon in solitary confinement. So, Hunter, you're going to jail, and they didn't say this directly, but basically you'll be in contempt, which means they can put you in jail. And so what was the reaction? Oh, look at this. The federal prosecutor comes out a few hours later. Oh, we just hit him with all these 9 counts. Oh, we could go up to jail for 12 years. Wow. Oh, we got him. Total lie. No. This will be, and I'm quoting this from Brett Tolman, former federal prosecutor who was on Fox today talking about this. This is going to be a slap on the wrist. Hunter is going to use this. His attorney, he ain't going to say nothing. His attorney, Abby Lowell, is going to come out and say, well, of course he's not going to testify now. He's not going to be, he's going to plead the fifth. He's not going to self-incriminate. He's not going to incriminate himself before he goes before a trial here. The feds are coming after him now. He's got to be a trial. He's innocent and he can't talk. So they did it for him. He won't testify now. Isn't that amazing? Wow, it's like magic. Second of all, this is ridiculous. They're gonna, Biden's, not Biden, but the rich, LA producer, guy who's Hunter's sugar daddy, he's gonna pay the tax fees and they'll give him a slap on the wrist and that'll be it. Oh, but there's the gun charge. Whoa. No, he's gonna get slapped on the wrist and everything. This is all done to take away what a genuine prosecution would be of Hunter Biden and to cloister him away from being put in contempt of court and being forced to give depositions where if he lies, it's under the penalty of perjury, and to slap him on the wrist, to cloister him away, make it look like they're punishing him. Bad Hunter, bad Hunter. Joe will come on and say, oh, yeah, I didn't know about this. My son's innocent. He's wonderful. He's amazing. He's brilliant. And then he's cloistered away for a year, and then wouldn't you know it, slap on the wrist. Now, I had somebody tell me that I very much I work with at my regular job. I have a nighttime talk show at our Red Eye Radio affiliate WBAP in Dallas. You can check me out and watch read podcast or listen to podcasts of me there at WBAP.com. We're a proud Red Eye Radio affiliate, and you can look there and you can listen and you can see that now he ain't going to be held to account on this, but they're going to cloister him away. Oh yeah, one of my colleagues at my station WBAP was telling me earlier today that they're going to get John, this is going to take down Joe, and I'm like, how? Well, Joe's going to be implicated in this. It's going to take him down. I'm like, this. Look, love you, bro, but this ain't going to take him down. This is not going to take down Joe Biden. This part will not. It will not. No, because Joe and his people are going to say, we don't talk about it. We can't talk about it. Oh, it's Hunter. It's Hunter's his business. No, Joe had nothing to do with his business. We all know he did everything. There's pictures of him. There's video with him. There's, dozens of calls. There's hundreds of meetings and meetings at the White House in the vice president's office with these business partners. There's emails galore. One of them, Eric Schwerin, was like a couple hundred of them, like 300. Many of them just one-on-one. I mean, the cat's out of the bag, but they're going to just keep denying it. So my questions for you are this. And by the way, they didn't nail Hunter on a FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act, which is an absolute must. He was a foreign agent who did not register with the United States government as a foreign lobbyist. That's a serious federal offense. And apparently it's only punishable or charged if you're a Trump supporter, not if you're Hunter Biden or anybody that has the last name of Biden or is a bestie with Joe or a relative. So no FARA violation. And the biggest amounts of tax that Hunter absconded on, the biggest amount of tens of millions of illegal money he made was in 2014 to 2016. Between 2014 and 2016, was not brought to bear. And when you commit fraud, as Hunter did on your taxes, there's no statute of limitations. And so Hunter, literally his biggest fraud and his massive his cash hauls were between 2014 and 2015, with those 2 years. Those aren't on there. They ain't going to ever do it. But maybe a President Trump, if he wins in a year, will allow his Justice Department to do their job, to go after Hunter for FARA, to go after Hunter for 2 years of insane amount of taxes off of $20+ million that he hauled in illegally. So, no, I don't think this is anything great, and I think it's designed to keep Hunter safe and Joe safe and to just give him a slap on the wrist and take him away. So here's my questions for you. Maybe I'm off on this. Maybe you think I'm way off and I'm wrong. Do you think Hunter Biden will use these new charges today announced, 9 counts of tax evasion, up to 12 years in prison he faces? Do you think Hunter will use this to get out of testifying for the House subpoena next week, as I do? And do you think this is a sweetheart deal for Hunter, as I do? And do you actually think this will take down Joe Biden? Our number, of course, on Red Eye Radio, it's Chris Krok in for Gary and Eric. They'll be back, as I was mentioning. They're going to have a long weekend right now. God bless them for that. Love the guys. And they'll be returning Sunday night into Monday morning. But our number is 866-90-RED-EYE. That's 866-907-3339. We'll talk to you coming up next across America. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Cold temperatures and water can lead to only one outcome, and ice has no place in the truck's air system. That's why it's crucial to keep your air system moisture-free as the temperatures begin to drop. Make sure your air system is in top condition before plunging temperatures put it to the test. In addition to changing your air dryer desiccant cartridge and draining your air tanks, make sure that no alterations have been made to the air compressor discharge line. This can dramatically increase the amount of moisture in the air system. Lastly, have a professional technician check the condition of your air dryer heater, purge valve, and check valve.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Across America, Red Eye Radio, Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. They'll be back after a long weekend on Sunday night into Monday morning. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. Let's go to Elena in Detroit. You are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Elena.
Hi there. We listen to your show all the time. I do elder care. I'm in my 40s, so I take care of the old folks, and they always stay up all night and sleep during the day, so this show really keeps me on the road with them. This whole thing with this, my number one, this whole mess is just a distraction away from what's really going on. They keep wanting to throw things out, red herrings. And number two, I don't think anybody is really hooking into the idea that Hunter's a fall guy for the evil, dirty, filthy dad of his.
I think you are 110% right. Here's the deal. It might be so simple, but it became profound for me in realizing this, that when we watch The Sopranos, Tony Soprano can at least I think some movie villains are better, more apropos than Tony, because he'd still hung out at the Bada Bing and whatever. But Joe Biden is that perfect looking, crisp suit, affable guy that is the face of the empire. And
yes,
he does not get his fingers dirty, although he does, like Tony Soprano, meet with some of these people. That's true. But he is the front of the organization, and Hunter is that dirty, filthy guy who is in the gutter, and he's in the gutter because that's where you got to be to do all this stuff. And then he's sucked up into the gutter with the prostitution, with the drugs, and with the lifestyle, and with all the money. And his dad pimps him out to his own son's detriment, to his being destroyed and run to the ground and almost dead, with being pushed into this and pimped out by Dad. And Dad, of course, is the brand, as his former assistant used to say, has said in testimony. And so I think you're absolutely right that Joe has pimped out his son to pimp his brand, to sell his brand and his influence in an influence peddling scheme, but that he is very, Joe and Hunter, but particularly it's really Joe, is very arrogant and feels very entitled. I've done all these years of service, and everybody else gets wealthy, and I haven't been this, and I'm a really important big guy. His importance is off of his title and building his wealth, and Hunter has allowed him to do that. And I think Joe became lazy and entitled and got away with it for so long that he left his you-know-what's hanging out. And I think that this is going to nail him eventually. I just don't know when or how. And I don't think it's interesting. I'm going to get into coming up next. There's a Fox News article that dropped this evening about Hunter's indictment as a nuclear bomb, quote unquote, for the Bidens. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think that until we get like a Trump administration or somebody in a year, I think a lot of this stuff is going to be gently pushed to the side. That's my thoughts. Elena, I appreciate your great call tonight. We've got one line open at 866-90-RED-EYE. That's 866-907-3339. Let's go to Joe not Joe, but Alan, I should say, in Prosper. You are on Red Eye Radio.
Hi, I have two thoughts. First, there's no way he's going to testify.
Oh, actually, you know what? Let me put you on standby. It's my fault. Standby. We'll take your call coming up next on Red Eye Radio. Across America, it's Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
Across America, Red Eye Radio, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They will be back on Sunday night into Monday morning after a long weekend. Well deserved. All right, guys, so 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. Hunter Biden charged indicted, I should say, on 9 counts of tax evasion, up to 12 years in prison, yada, yada. It's a perfect announcement so that he doesn't have to testify when he's subpoenaed and threatened with jail time. He doesn't have to testify. He can just say, oh, plead the fifth, can't do anything, guys. I got my criminal trial. I got my protection, my shield. And you know, I had a colleague today at my station in Dallas, at WBAP, a proud Red Eye Radio affiliate, say that this is going to take down Joe, and I don't agree. I think that Joe is going to say, I didn't know anything about his business, and he's innocent, blah, blah, blah. He's already openly lying, saying, I never met with this business person. That's a lie. I didn't talk with him. That's a lie. He's like a child. Nobody believes this. Now, look, here's a headline that came out tonight, a little later after this announcement. Hunter indictment, a nuclear bomb for the Bidens. Headline says, as Joe Biden sounds like Clinton during Lewinsky scandal, experts say. So you got some analysts supposedly telling Fox tonight that one political analyst said it's going to be a bombshell that'll put President Biden in a self-constructed trap. After he, said that it's lies about his son and meeting with him and being with his brother. I think a lot of people felt that David Weiss was going to let these charges skate and Hunter Biden would never be held accountable for making millions overseas, said Representative Sean Duffy from Wisconsin, Republican. He also says that if legal conditions worsen for the Bidens in L.A. case, off-ramp will be the hair gel governor. I don't think so. I don't think Joe has too much pride and arrogance. He will not resign. Not a Dr. Jill absolutely loves the White House almost more than Joe. And Joe's not going to give it up. He'll have to be dragged away. I really do believe that. He'll have to be thrown out of office by the voters. Jonathan Turley, George Washington law professor on Fox, said that he may be in a rhetorical box in because with Biden, President Biden, due to his long-held denials of his knowledge of participation in his son's business dealings. Turley says there's some similarity between when Clinton said, I didn't have sexual relations with that woman for, Lewinsky, and he's basically saying I didn't have interactions with those people, Turley said, and it didn't work for Clinton. It's more insulting here, pointing to polling that says that a majority of Americans, including a large portion of Democrats, tell pollsters they don't believe Biden on this. I'll give you some more details on that in a minute, but I'm still not convinced. I wish and I hope, but I'm still not convinced. All right, let's go to Alan in Prosper, Texas. I'm asking you a few questions on this, by the way. Do you think Hunter will use this to get out of testifying for the House subpoena, which they're going to drag him in court and put him in jail if he won't talk? Not in court, but in front of the House committees. And now he has a perfect excuse to say, plead the fifth. So do you think Hunter will use this to get out of testifying? And do you think this is a sweetheart deal for Hunter, as I do, because they're going to slap him on the wrist? They did not charge for the tens of millions. I believe it was 20 to 27 million he pulled in 2014, 2015, not getting him for FARA, Foreign Agents Registration Act, which is very serious, not getting him for a lot more in taxes from 2014 to 2016. And when you commit fraud on your taxes, there is no statute of limitations, by the way. So, and do you think this will take down Joe Biden? I don't think so, but that's just my thoughts. Alan in Prosper, Texas, you're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Alan.
Hi. Two thoughts. First, he's not going to testify. Second, I believe that the attorneys for Hunter Biden knew these charges were coming, which is why they volunteered to have him testify in the first place, knowing that he never would testify. And then the second point.
By the way, on that point, they volunteered for a public testimony, which is a clown show, where it's not serious at all. Each representative, state congressman gets 5 minutes with him. He drags it out. He obfuscates.
He would never be there.
No. Well, let me say this: they don't ever want him to go where he can be asked 400 questions for hours and hours and hours with no time limit. This, the public one, is perfect. It shows he's like, I did it. I was out in public. I did it in front of the world. And it'll be 5 minutes per each. That it's a joke. You watch those 5 minute ones where they get time guts, goes out in 5 minutes. It doesn't do anything.
First of all, he won't do that. And secondly, it's just a long game. Biden is not going to be the candidate. It's going to be somebody else. And after the election, Biden is going to pardon Hunter, and he's going to pardon himself, and this will never go to trial.
Couple of things. I do think that Hunter, this indictment being dropped today was designed in perfect timing to keep him from testifying next week. And he will testify in public if he can. I think they agreed to it on purpose. And I think that this gives them the chance to not have to say anything behind the closed doors where we can really get nailed. And then as far as Joe not making it, I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to run, and I think he thinks he's going to win, and I don't think he's going to relinquish it. He will not. He will not let them force him out. He won't. He's too.
Do you think he'll pardon Hunter?
If it means his son actually going to jail, yes, because he won't let that kid go to. It's not a kid. He's like 53. Actually, he's older than I am. He won't let his own kid go to jail. He'll play the game, but once it matters, what he's got to do, Joe's got to win again and do it. Or I do believe, truthfully, as you said, if he doesn't get reelected, which I pray he won't, if he doesn't get reelected in that month between when he loses and such, and I think he'll be, he says that Trump is Satan, which he's a joke with that, but he'll be worse than Trump on the way out. I think, honestly, and I think Trump's going to win. I pray that Trump will win. Right, but he'll pardon him right in between when he loses and when he's out. Yes, unequivocally.
Agreed.
Thank you for your call, man. I appreciate it very much, Alan in Prosper, Texas. Let's see here. Let's go to Michael in Dallas, Texas. You are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Chris.
How are you?
Work late tonight. Kind of fun hearing you piloting the 50,000-watt blowtorch tonight. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I've taken over my home station of WBAP for like half the day and night. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I usually don't work late, but I did, and I heard your show earlier, and then to hear you on tonight, this is cool.
Love it.
But,
I love it.
Hey, on the topic you got, I think my take on this is that they think that the big guy might not be as electable as he thinks he is, and so I think the advisors might be trying to force this play so that they could get, if they can get if they know he's wrong and they know he's hung and he's going to get convicted, let's go ahead and have that happen so that the only remedy Dad can offer is the remedy vis-a-vis the relief of the pardon, the presidential pardon, because just like you just kind of summed up with your last caller, that window's closing pretty quick on them now, and if they feel like the gig is up and they're gonna get busted and gonna go ahead and turn over the cards, let's do it now while he can still keep him from going. Because boy, once Trump's elected, if that's what happens in the natural order of things, it's going to be real tough to keep Hunter out of the big house. Yeah,
it's over. It's over at that point, and he'll pardon him on everything. But then I pray that the Trump Justice Department will do what any Justice Department should do and go after Hunter for FARA violations, prosecute him for that, which is very serious and can have years in jail. And then also from 2014 to 2016, tens of millions of dollars of income from being a foreign lobbyist, corrupt foreign lobbyist. So
that's the right thing to do, and those of us that are God-fearing men and try to stay on the right side of right on things, that's absolutely the right thing to do. But I think then they're you can see the obvious play that's coming. It's predictable that they're going to say, okay, this is Trump now, trying to go after Biden because he's he was in the hot, Trump with his indictments. And right is right and wrong is wrong, and the truth always comes out in the end. That's just the way God's universe works, and so. But the media is going to spin it that it's Trump trying to, get back at Biden and correct for or overcorrect for his sins, that he was prosecuted on.
Do you agree with me?
It's a sickening game of people who just don't know how to just be honest and forward, and
they don't want to. Michael, do you agree with me that Joe Biden will not relinquish the presidency, and including if it means losing the election and giving it to Trump? I don't think he's ever going to resign. I think he's going to have to lose.
100%. I think the man. I don't think he's got the mental capacity to even evaluate what the truth is. I think it's delusional and pathological, and that's just his makeup. And unless he's got some advisors in there that can get through,
they won't. Wait, remember what the New York Times. You remember what the New York Times said about a year or so ago, where they're like he yells at people when they correct him, or what they do is this: like he's the president and they're not, so they rightfully tread lightly around him. He's their boss, commander in chief. But what they do is they'll gently try to say, okay, I'm going to say this to him not because I hate saying this to him because he's going to get mad at me, but this is to not make him look stupid, to protect him from himself by going out there and saying something dumb. So I'm going to gently tell him, hey, listen, Mr. President, I don't know if you heard this, but and he goes, and he yells at him. That's what the New York Times said. They don't want to, throw him under the bus, but they did. They said,
Father Time. Eventually, his soft landing is going to be Father Time, either in his passing, and God bless him when he does, or just going off into 100% mental, elderly mental.
I actually, there are
protect our elders.
He has moments of clarity.
Jimmy is now.
Yeah, he has moments of clarity, and he has moments where he talks and he's fine, if you will, for him, not for normal folk. But so I think that he's not as gone and demented as we all think he is. But I think that his biggest problem is not his dementia or his decline. His biggest problem is his arrogance. And that's what's going to destroy him. He's not going to leave, and that's why he's actually got himself so close to being found out and nailed. Appreciate your call. We got several lines open now at 866-90-RED-I, 866-907-3339. And let's see here. We got several people on hold. We got Tom at Boston. Let's go to, do we have time for Tom? You want me to take Tom, or you want me to pause? Huh? All right, we'll take Tom at Boston. We can pop you on here. Tom, you're on Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, hi, Chris. Chris, I'm really worried for the country. I think it's in really bad shape. You know what Trump talked about? He wants to get rid of the communists, the fascists, the socialists, the progressives, and the Democrats. I'm telling you, I think this party's been taken over. It started in 1972. The communists tried to take over, and I think they get a lock, stock, and barrel now. I think it's in really bad shape. This country's in real bad shape.
It is.
I hope Trump gets elected. Trump needs to be elected. He has to. If he's not elected, the country is over. You can forget about it.
I got to tell you.
Yeah, this guy he's in with the progressives and the population decline. He'll start a war and get rid of 2 billion people.
He already has started 2 wars.
Yeah, but he's gonna. He will use nuclear weapons. I believe. If anybody, he won't be Putin.
I don't think
it won't be Xi.
I don't think he's going to do nuclear weapons first. I just think that his fecklessness and his weakness and his incompetence has fostered 2 wars. It began with the abandoning Afghanistan and not caring how it goes, which showed grand fecklessness and weakness and no spine. He abandoned a $1 billion Air Force base, Bagram, where we literally were only hundreds of miles from the it was the closest base we had to China. Gone. Gave that up. And he gave that land to be used by China and Russia and all the rare earth minerals to be harvested. But we could have operated out of Bagram with regard to the Middle East war right now going on. That war is because of Joe. That wouldn't have happened. I'm going to pause right there. When we come back, we'll talk to George in Naperville, plus your call. We're, of course, talking about the new indictment charges on Hunter Biden. And is this going to take down Joe or not? And is this protecting him? Really not going to prosecute him the way we would want him to be prosecuted. All that next. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary across America. It's Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Across America, Red Eye Radio, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back Sunday into Monday after a long weekend. All right, let's go to George in Naperville, Illinois, where I have family that is from there. We spend a lot of time there visiting. George, you are on Red Eye Radio.
Hi, Chris. I'm a virgin caller for Red Eye. So
well, that's fantastic. Welcome.
Let me
Welcome.
Through. Yeah.
111th, 111th and 59th. We were at there by my family. Used to live there. Okay, George, go ahead, real fast.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I used to live in Dallas 15 years, and I'm a big fan of WBAP. So
there you go.
So I have family in East Texas and Houston and Dallas. So, I'm not to bore everyone, but I kind of agree with the last two callers that this whole charade is basically to allow whatever the big charges are to Hunter to kind of go
I agree.
through.
I got to roll, buddy, but I agree with you. That's exactly what this is. Appreciate your call. Across America, Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok for Eric and Gary.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Now it's Red Eye Radio with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok. This is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok for Eric and Gary. They'll be back. They're having a long weekend. They'll be back late Sunday night, of course, Sunday into Monday morning. And you can catch my show weeknights on WBAP in Dallas-Fort Worth, 8 to midnight Central Time. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show, CHRISKROK. That's at Chris Krok Show, CHRISKROK, on Facebook and on Twitter. We have some craziness going on tonight, I can tell you that. You can see my little picture. I took a picture from my home studio. Still a little bit of work in progress, but nonetheless, there I am, jovial, sporting my cap. Anyway, guys, and I apologize for having fake news CNN in the background, but that's all I get with my streaming HBO subscription. Otherwise, I'd rather have Fox or Newsmax or the like. Okay, y'all, so we have Hunter Biden facing new indictment charges in California, but I do believe it's designed to keep him from being subpoenaed, having to testify behind closed doors where they could ask him tons of questions and such. Now he can say, plead the fifth, got a criminal trial that's coming up, and they'll just slap him on the wrist on that. I don't think it's going to take down Joe, but we've been talking about that, but also this is craziness. This is unbelievable. A lot of people haven't caught this yet. CARE director, the director of Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE's director, the executive director, and co-founder of CARE, Nahid Awad, just a couple weeks ago, speaking at the 16th Annual Convention for Palestine in Chicagoland, the home of one of our Red Eye Radio affiliates, WLSAM. He was speaking as a featured speaker, Fox News reports, and I have the audio, I'll play for you in a second, but he said the people of Gaza only decided to break the siege. Well, first of all, he said he was happy to witness October 7th terror attacks in Israel. And he said that Israel does not have a right to self-defense. You're going to hear him say it himself. Fox News confirmed it's him. It's obviously him speaking. You can see his face and everything. It's on my Twitter feed. You can watch it and retweet it. Again, at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show on Twitter, CHRISKROK. He said in Chicagoland a couple weeks ago, so this isn't like it was some foreign overseas. No, this is right here a few weeks ago on camera. It just hit it was released by this annual convention for Palestine. They released it on their social media feed or whatever publicly on Saturday, so that's why it's gotten out of Fox. People of Gaza only decided to break the siege, the walls of the concentration camp on October 7th. He said, and yes, I was happy to see people breaking the siege, throwing down the shackles of their own land and walk free in their own land that they were not free to walk in. And yes, the people of Gaza have a right to self-defense, have the right to defend themselves. And yes, Israel is an occupying power, does not have the right to defend itself. Isn't this amazing? Hold on, let me play for you what he said because this is breathtaking. Listen closely. This is the co-founder and executive director of CARE, Council on Islamic American Relations in Chicagoland a couple weeks ago.
The people of Gaza only decided to break the siege, the walls of the concentration camp, on October 7th. And yes, I was happy to see people breaking the siege and throwing down the shackles of their own land and walk free into their lands that they were not allowed to walk in. And yes, the people of Gaza have the right to self-defense, have the right to defend themselves. And yes, Israel as an occupying power does not have that right to self-defense.
And let's give you the second part of that. This is totally unedited. This is back to back to back. None of this was edited out. All right, here's the next part of what he just said right there.
Gaza became the liberation source, the inspiration for people. Gaza transformed many minds around the world, including people who are not Muslim. What kind of faith these people have? They are thankful. They're not afraid, and Israel did not scare them because they knew that their heaven is in Gaza. And if they would like to die, they will go to another heaven. That is the faith of the people of Gaza. And that's why Gaza and the people of Gaza were able to transform everyone who's watching. They have learned from these people. And those who felt bad for Gaza, they don't understand the equation. Those who thought that the Gazans are less than those who can help them, they are mistaken. They are mistaken. The Gazans were the victorious.
Wow. Okay, so CARE's co-founder and executive director, that's the Council on American Islamic Relations, kind of the figurehead for Islam in America. When something happens to somebody who's Islamic, they'll come out in the news and defend them and, whatever, all this stuff. Anyway, so he said that he was happy to see the terror attacks on October 7th. Happy. We're learning about the brutal satanic, honestly, rapes of and gang rapes of women who are then burned alive. I'm going to give you some more details in a minute because we're going to tie that in with the college presidents that were grilled, and some of them are walking back their statements, but it's a little too late by far. And I want you to hear how bad some of this stuff is so that you can understand that this is what these college presidents are excusing and overlooking when people are being attacked on this verbally and even physically on their campuses. But this is what he's praising. This is what the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations is praising and saying he was happy to see. And then he also said in that speech, according to Fox News, he attacked AIPAC, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, saying it controls the United States government. AIPAC and its affiliates have been controlling the U.S. government and the United States Congress. And if someone says, Nihad Awad said this about the Congress, I tell you, yes, I say it today and I say tomorrow. Unless we free Congress, we'll not be able to free Palestine. So he was cheered and everything like that. And he also said, brothers and sisters, young people in the Democrat Party have sent a clear message to this administration and to the Democrat Party that you have betrayed your votes, our votes, you have betrayed our support, and you have betrayed young people who aspire to the United States of America to reposition itself as a moral leader in the world. They've betrayed us. So he's parroting what the campuses have been taught by the tens of millions of dollars of donations from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and China to our universities. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Here's the thing. So you have the biggest spokesperson and biggest outlet for Muslims in America, the face of Muslims in America, saying that he's happy to watch the terror attacks in Israel and that Israel doesn't have a right to self-defense. How do you feel about this? What do you think about this? Do you think there's any defense for CARE's director saying he was happy to watch the October 7th terror attacks and that Israel doesn't have a right to self-defense and they're an occupying power? Are you done listening to CARE? And should they be investigated and appropriate action be taken by our government? Or do you think this is just simply free speech and buyer beware? And by the way, do you think Joe Biden should now remove people that he has from CARE on his advisory councils, that are with his advisory councils? You know what he did, by the way? And our number, by the way, is 866-90-RED-I, 866-907-3339. That's 866-907-3339. It really is totally breathtaking that a group that's supposed to be the voice of reasonable Islamic people in this country was happy to see the terror attacks. It tells you a lot. And I do think they should be investigated. You know what's interesting? The largest ever, after 9/11, George Bush passed through Congress a law that makes fundraising for terrorism a crime, a serious crime in our country. And a few years later, the FBI and federal government took down the largest ever terrorism fundraising case in United States history. It is in the DFW area, where my home base is at WBAP, my nighttime talk show at WBAP.com. You can check it out. And in a suburb of Dallas is where the Holy Land Foundation raised $12 million, roughly, to kill Jewish people, pretending it was for people that are in Palestine that are needy. And the FBI, 2 different FBI agents testified in that trial. It sent many people to jail, including some people to 65 years in federal prison for terrorism fundraising, pretending it's for needy people. And both FBI agents that testified in this trial, 2 of them, said that CARE was one of the unindicted co-conspirators in that case. And that when they wiretapped a room in Boston for this case, they were the leaders of the meeting that were saying, well, who can we use as our face and who can help us to spread our message? And they said CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations. And so that was in the early 2000s. And here we are today with its executive director and co-founder saying he was happy to watch the October 7th terror attacks, where women were raped, burned alive, babies were raped, beheaded. After women were gang raped, they had their heads cut off with shovels. Their breasts were cut off, and they played with the breasts that they cut off. You had a child whose, I believe his foot was cut off, and then in front of the mom and the dad all next to each other. The mom then had her breast cut off, and then the dad had his eyes gouged out with the terrorist's bare hands in front of each other. And this attack caused Mr. Awad, the co-founder and executive director of CARE, to be happy. 1,200 Jews slaughtered, 240 hostages, roughly, including 19 Americans either killed or taken hostage. I think we have 8 Americans currently hostage, and this made him happy. And this is an organization allowed to fundraise and is a spokesperson and is taken seriously now? I don't see how. So, does this... is there any defense for this, for saying this, in your opinion? That you're happy to watch the Israeli terror attacks on October 7th? Are you done listening to CARE? You want them investigated now? And should Joe Biden remove any of their members from his advisory positions he has on his boards and such? All right, our number is 866-90-RED-I. That's 866-907-3339. That's 866-907-3339. When coming up next, I want to share something with you here, because it's once this came out, and he said this publicly. I've played you the audio now. It's on my Twitter feed. You can watch it for yourself. Once this came out today, all of a sudden, their deputy executive director releases a statement, kind of crab walking backwards, or kind of walking backwards like a cockroach, trying to walk back. Oh, you caught me on camera. Oh, it's everywhere now. Oh, Fox News has it. Oh. It's pretty breathtaking. It's not breathtaking. It's insane what we're seeing from them. So I'll tell you what he says coming up next, how he tries to walk it back. And then I want to give some more details that are going to be a little difficult, but on what happened to many of these women. We're learning even more about what happened to the hostages in the terror attack in Israel and the women in these villages, and at the music festival. There's more atrocities we're finding out, sexual atrocities. And then what these university presidents were saying in light of all this, refusing to condemn it, refusing to say it violates policies, promoting violence and stuff like that, calling for violence and genocide of Jews. So we're going to talk about all of that coming up next as well. And, of course, the other thing we're talking about tonight is Hunter Biden has been indicted on 9 counts of tax evasion. And so we're still talking about that tonight on Red Eye Radio. Now, there's also some interesting fake news. CNN tonight is calling out, saying that Hunter would have resolved all these issues if judge didn't started asking questions. That federal judge that was appointed by Trump has started asking questions. We'll hear about that, too. All that's coming up on Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok for Eric and Gary. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number across America. It's Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
The IFTA tax program redistributes tax revenue to states based on your actual miles run. Thus, the truly cheapest fuel can only be found if you subtract federal and state taxes and state surcharges from the pump price to compare. The strategy means that you buy without regard for whether you are paying more at the pump in taxes. IFTA also considers state surcharges, which complicates the fuel buying strategy. Indiana, Kentucky, and Virginia have per-gallon surcharges. Connecticut, Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon have per-mile surcharges. While some owner-operators buy only enough fuel to get through surcharge states, this practice can backfire, depending on the actual cost of the fuel in each state. When comparing fuel prices, always remember, pump pride minus taxes equals the real fuel cost. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Across America, Red Eye Radio, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. So, as I was mentioning, you got the Council on American Islamic Relations. That's the mouthpiece for Muslims in America. It's supposed to be a genteel, moderate Muslim organization that protects Muslims and comes to their defense and speaks out for them. But yet you have the executive director and co-founder, Nihad Awad, coming out and saying that he was happy to see the terrorist attacks that went down, to witness the October 7th attacks, and that Israel doesn't have a right to self-defense. It's just disgusting. And I played you the audio of it, and then he says that Gaza has the right to, and Palestinians have the right to self-defense, but the Israelis don't. And then, of course, he talked about AIPAC, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, controlling the U.S. government, kind of going back to the old trope, the hatred of the Jews, saying the Jews are controlling our government. It's just sick. So the CARE deputy executive director tries to do cleanup and releases a statement saying that Nihal Awad said, during my speech last week, this is in Chicagoland, by the way. I played you the audio. Fox News had it. They've confirmed it's him. During my speech last week in support of Palestinian human rights, I condemn all forms of bigotry. I mean, this Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and violence against all civilians. That's not what I heard and how it sounded to us. It doesn't seem to be any room for interpretation to me at all. Despite this, an anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian hate website selected remarks from my speech out of context and spliced them together. Well, maybe if you don't say it, it won't sound bad, right? What I actually said was, now he pulls in Ukraine. There's the badge, the virtue signal. Ukraine, Palestinians and other occupied people have the right to defend themselves. Oh, pull in Ukraine. Okay, that's the Holy Grail. We can't say anything negative now. Oh, Ukraine. I'm sorry. I'm bowing down. Okay. That's right. Zelensky said, hey, where's my money? Zelensky not happy. Where's my money? Come on now. Come. You come to Ukraine. You hump my leg. You give me money now. Come on. That's what he said. Anyway, so he brings in the Ukrainians. All right, coming up next on Red Eye Radio, I'm going to get into some horrifying details that happened to the Israeli women, and then that'll kind of bring us into the university presidents who did not denounce the anti-Semitism on their campus, and the outcomes are being they're being swatted down tonight.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
By the way, speaking of Chris Krok, of course, and for Eric and Gary, they'll be back Sunday night into Monday morning, having a long weekend off, which is fantastic for them. By the way, close to Gary's hometown of Buffalo. Love seeing pictures of him and his dad on holiday and stuff like that. Anyway, in Albany, New York, a lot closer than many of us are to where his dad is and his family's from, where he's from, is a terror attack that happened today. I did not know this. Funny enough, didn't catch on my radar. But a 28-year-old suspect taken into custody fired 2 shotgun rounds at a Jewish temple in Albany, identified as Mufid Fawaz al-Khadar. Thanks to swift coordination with ATF, FBI partners at Albany Police Department, New York State Police, Mufid Fawaz al-Khadar has been arrested and charged with possession of firearm prohibited person. More information will be provided by U.S. Attorney's Office, blah, blah, blah. The police chief says, suspect fired on the front steps of the temple at 1:56 this afternoon, Thursday, of course, yesterday afternoon, Thursday afternoon before running away. Cops got there a few minutes later, and they ended up confronting him in a lot nearby. And so investigators looking at this as an act of violence, as a hate crime. No! He reportedly also yelled something, one of the reports I saw, and I don't want to quote it unless I see it, but he, I think, yelled something about Palestine in there. I'm obviously not surprised. And this is obviously another white supremacist Trump voter, right? Obviously. Because, white supremacist Trumpers are the major threat of this country, according to Joe Biden's Justice Department. Don't look at this. We're all worried about Islamophobia, guys. Just remember that, okay? Even though you got all over the campuses unbridled Jew hatred. It is just sickening. And I want you to hear some of the horrors first, because I think we need to know who our enemy is. Because you need to know who they are and what they do to understand how bad, how evil, how wicked they are, and that you can't negotiate with this. So we've learned more about the rape and sexual atrocities that went on by Hamas. Couple of things. First of all, a doctor who has been the one examining every one of the hostages free, the 110 so far, says at least 10 of them were sexually assaulted or abused. The first apparent medical confirmation that the terrorists raped the hostages while in captivity. So they raped the women while in captivity. And Lieutenant Colonel Richard Hecht, Israeli military spokesperson, said the army is absolutely concerned about sexual violence against female hostages. Now, the sexual atrocities, more. Let me share some from CNN. I was called into a house. This is some of the Israeli officials. I was called into a house. I was told there were a few bodies over there. This is one of the kibbutzim where the terrorists came in and murdered and raped. I saw in front of my eyes a woman lying down. She was naked and she had nails. Had nails and different objects in her female organs. Her body was brutalized in a way that we could not identify her. There were girls with broken pelvis due to repetitive rapes. Their legs were split wide apart in a split. We heard girls that were pulled out from the shelters, girls that shouted. They raped girls, burnt them just after that. All the bodies outside were burned. Our team commander saw several female soldiers who were shot in their crotch, intimate parts, vagina, or shot in the breast. There seemed to be a systematic genital mutilation of a group of victims. Another one said, I heard, and you also heard about sexual violence, sexual abuse, and incidents of brutal rape like nothing else. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, after hearing all this, Israel's public broadcaster, Channel 11, obtained and released an audio from the meeting on Tuesday with hostages, former hostages describing their time in captivity. Quote, they're touching the girls, they recorded some of them saying, and everyone knows it. The UN Women, by the way, this group that supposedly fights for women, didn't even condemn this for 57 days. And today, Netanyahu said, or yesterday he said, I say to the women's rights organization, I say to the human rights organizations, you have heard of the rape of Israeli women, horrible atrocities, sexual mutilation. Where the hell are you? Netanyahu said. Amen. So we need to know who our enemy is and what they've done and what they're doing to understand why we have to do what we have to do to them and why this is what we're dealing with. And it's just evil. Now, I want you to hear, they've got some of the audio, of course, from the UPenn, Harvard University, MIT University presidents. And they are just so you understand, presidents, I didn't really know this until recently, but presidents at universities are just fundraisers. And so what has happened, this is fascinating. TikTok is I heard a former Intel official on Fox News say this, that TikTok, and I agree with him, is a Chinese malware app. That's all it is. It's a Chinese malware app. It also poisons the mind of our young generation. China is openly sanctioned and government sanctioned and openly supports anti-Semitic. That's China. And they will never hear anything bad about China, but everything bad about Israelis and America on TikTok. It's a malware app. Now, second of all, another quote-unquote malware app that is wildly successful is the tens of billions of dollars that Qatar, which is the Islamic nation that houses three of Hamas's founders and three of Hamas's heads that are all billionaires. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Three people worth $11 billion living in Qatar in five-star luxury resort high-rise. Commanding and overseeing and praising and getting on their knees and praising God, well, their God, for all the Jews being slaughtered. And Qatar operates and has them there. And they, we're your friend. We're going to work together. So Qatar and Saudi Arabia and China, billions of dollars into our top elite universities. Top. That is how our elite students are being taught to hate Jews, to hate America, and also DEI. DEI is the poison. DEI teaches that Jews are oppressors, they're white, basically, and that whites are oppressors, and that the Palestinians are people of color, and they are oppressed. Oppressed, oppressor. The oppressor is evil and can be turned to an inhuman situation. The oppressed is the victim, always, even when they kill and do terror. That's what's programming us. It's not a malware app, but it's like a big malware program, if you will. And that's why these university presidents are not criticizing and not going after anti-Semitism. They're pretending it doesn't exist. Now, coming up next, you're going to hear on Red Eye Radio, you're going to hear one of the UPenn students. It's going to be very unbelievable what this Jewish student says of what the campus environment is like. Then you're going to hear the UPenn president try to defend this, and just it's horrific. So I'll do that for you coming up next. And in fact, I think I can pop that off real fast right now. Let us do that, because I want you to hear that, and then we'll talk about that. Here is, I'm going to play for you two things. I'm going to play just a piece where Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is going, asking these presidents of these major universities, and this one's going to be from UPenn, if this is violating their policies. Then you hear the student at UPenn who's a Jew hiding in his dormitory. It's unbelievable.
Investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or no?
If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
All right, there you go. And for that, they lost $100 million. A rabbi has resigned off of Harvard's board. A lot of this stuff is coming out, and the White House condemned. I'll share that with you coming up next. Let's talk to Mike real fast in San Antonio. Mike, you are on Red Eye Radio. Hello, Mike.
Good morning. And I just wanted to make a comment that what Hamas is doing is exactly what the Islamic ideology teaches their soldiers for Allah to do when they go into battle and when they fight with the infidels, and when they take over. They do all of this atrocity of sexual rape and beheading and cutting off hands and legs. That's their ideology. 911 was my wake-up call, and it should have been the wake-up call for all of Americans. And since then, I've been making presentations about what Islam is all about. It's not our friend. It's totally against our freedom of religion, our rights. And they are protected as a religion, but at the same time, when they're practicing their religion, they're doing exactly what Hamas is doing. And it's also happening in other countries where not only the Jews, but Christians are being persecuted and slaughtered. So people need to wake up to what the Islamic ideology is all about. Now, Nihad Awad, he was, of course, the founder of the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Mm-hmm. In 1994,
and by the way, he's the one who just said on camera, we played it for you from Fox News, got it, and he was happy to see the October 7th terrorist attacks.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 1994, he made a speech at Barry University, and he said this, and I quote, he said, "I used to support the PLO, and I used to be the president of the General Union of the Palestinian Students, which is part of the PLO here in the United States. But after I researched the situation inside Palestine and outside, I am in support of the Hamas movement more than the PLO." So he's been in support of Hamas ever since 1994, and so what he said in this regard recently, he supports what they do.
Well, based on what he said, he was happy to see the October 7th terror attacks, where Jews were raped, killed, taken hostage, including Americans, then I wouldn't doubt that. I appreciate your call, Mike, and I appreciate your call very much from San Antonio. All right, I want to play for you a student coming up next on Red Eye. Of course, your call at 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. But I'm also going to play this UPenn student who's Jewish, and it's really, you're not going to believe what he's had to run and hide into his dorm room. He's a senior, and people are yelling at him, calling him murderer and such. You'll hear it from his own mouth at a press conference that CNN wouldn't carry, nor would MSNBC. They would never. All right, that's coming up next, plus your call. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back on Sunday night into Monday. They're having a nice long weekend. Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Across America, Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary and Eric. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. Let's hear the UPenn student, Jewish UPenn student, Eyal Yacobi. Just listen to a piece of what he said the other day.
Because 36 hours ago, I, along with most of campus, sought refuge in our rooms. As classmates and professors chanted proudly for the genocide of Jews while igniting smoke bombs and defacing school property. The neighboring university's president immediately released a statement describing this as a brazen display of...
He goes on to say nobody at UPenn did. It's unbelievable, though. There's violence, there's threats, there's direct calling of genocide and stuff like that on our Jewish friends. It's just disgusting. So, that is what's going on at Penn. They just lost a $100 million donation over it, too, which is good. But even Pfizer's president, Albert Bourla, said it's one of the most despicable moments in the history of U.S. academia, and I agree.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood. Now it's Red Eye Radio with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show from the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok. This is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. They're taking a long weekend. They'll be back Sunday night into Monday morning. So much going on in our country and our world today. This is pretty amazing. Did you see that Melania, Donald Trump's wife, former First Lady, says that she wants Tucker Carlson to be Trump's vice president? Isn't that amazing? I didn't think it was real. I was like, are you kidding me? Now, I am a huge fan of Tucker Carlson. I was talking to our producer Brian here at Red Eye Radio, and he's like, what is he doing lately? And, he's got a show on Twitter. I don't call it X. I think that's just so stupid. And it's pretty amazing because he's got his own show. And I watch it pretty religiously when it comes on Twitter. I retweet it and watch it and such. And I enjoy it. I'm a fan. So do not get me wrong. I would love to have him as the vice president, but I think it's laughable. I mean, anything can happen. And I could have said years ago that a reality television star would be our president. You would have laughed at it. In fact, I always thought it was a total and complete joke when Trump was running year after year. I always kind of laughed it off. And I didn't kind of totally. I'm like, it's just a show. But he did it, and he was fantastic. And I know there's a lot of issues people have and such, but I as I've been watching, and we'll do a few tiny little highlights from the debate still with the RNC And there's some news about CNN saying they're going to do, you're not going to believe what they're going to say about debates with the Republicans. It's just like, are you kidding me? But we'll get to that in a little bit. But I do think that it's completely obvious now that Trump is the nominee. And I don't think that the needle will be moved at all. And I think if I was DeSantis, I'm not a fan of Nikki Haley's. She's fine if she's a cabinet member, but I'm not a fan of hers otherwise. But I think a DeSantis would be good as a backup in case something would happen in the run-up to the election for Trump. So if I were DeSantis, I'd stick in as long as I could, just in case something. But other than that, it's over. I mean, it's totally over. So I think that that's the fact. And I think that it's become real to me that Trump is going to be the candidate, and it's become real to me that he will be able to do a good job with the second term and get a lot done. I just wish he had 8 years. But so Melania comes out and says that she wants Tucker Carlson to be her vice president, the vice president pick for Donald Trump, which I think is funny. And I don't think he would do it. But this came out in an Axios story today. Trump's loyalty-first cabinet picks may include Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller. Now, I'll share with you who some of these people are. I'm going to throw it out right now for you. Would you actually support Tucker Carlson for vice president on a Trump ticket? I can't say that without laughing. I'm sorry. And who do you think should be Trump's vice presidential candidate? Who do you think would be good? And who would you want on a Trump cabinet with the Trump administration? Because I actually have a list of people that Axios reports are going to be on his cabinet if he's reelected, which I actually think he's going to be the nominee, and I do think there's a good chance of him getting elected, especially when you hear what I will be sharing with you from a story that is very scary for the Democrats about where this election is heading, according to their own brand new research. The New York Times reported on it today, and it's really bad news for Joe and for the Democrats. I'll share that with you in a minute. But who would you support a Tucker Carlson for vice president on a Trump ticket? And who do you think should be Trump's vice presidential candidate? And who would you want on a Trump cabinet with the Trump administration? 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339. Let me share what he's got with you. I've really come around to saying I want Trump to be the president again, and I think he will do an amazing job, and I think he's the man to do it. It's been amazing to watch. I was listening to Martha McCallum's show on Fox earlier Thursday, and she had a guy who really does not like Trump at all, Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor of the Southern District of New York. I think he was a former Bush administration official as well. And McCarthy said that this whole thing going on in New York in that trial is there's nobody that's been harmed. Deutsche Bank made all of its money. All the banks made all their money. There is no victim. There's nobody in this case that is victimized. And that this is all a political persecution. And to have somebody that really despises Trump like Andy McCarthy say that is pretty powerful. And that if he wasn't a conservative, there'd be no prosecution. And I totally agree. And so they also marveled that with Donald Trump, every time they put charges on him, every time they brought a case, 2 federal, 2 state, every time his poll numbers went up and up and up and up. To the point now where he's 54 points ahead of DeSantis and of Haley. I mean, it's done. And it turns out he was wise to not go to these debates. And it's just something we've never seen and we'll probably never see again. But I think it's inevitable that he's going to be the nominee, and I think it's quite possible. I think it's very possible. I think he's going to be the next president again. I hope so. So here's who Axios says will be on the Trump cabinet. Stephen Miller, which is great. He's just so direct and in a good way over the top. J.D. Vance from Ohio. Kash Patel. Kash is a great one. I like him a lot. Steve Bannon may be returning to the office to advise. And then there's a whole litany of people that could get the nominations. We have, for vice president, they're saying either J.D. Vance, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, Byron Donalds, the Republican from Florida. He's a strong conservative Trump supporter out of Florida. As they say, he's one of the few black Republicans in Congress. And but then Melania says she wants to have Tucker as her vice president, which is pretty funny. And it'd be fine with me, but that's pretty out there. He was on Rosie O'Donnell's show, believe it or not. She has a pretty well-watched social media show on YouTube. And I heard her with Tucker, and they asked him if he would run as his vice president. He kind of laughed at it. But never know. So let's see. Mike Davis is the guy who said we're going to put kids back in cages. They're just using the line the Democrats use about Trump, which is the same stuff that Joe Biden does, same thing Barack Obama did. They're like, okay, we'll call it kids in cages. Yes, we're going to put kids back in cages. Steve Bannon, Kesh Patel, and then a bunch of others mentioned here. Rick Grinnell, remember him? They try to say that Donald Trump is anti-gay, but Rick Grinnell is an openly gay top official in the Trump campaign before, and he will be again if Trump's reelected. They say John Ratcliffe, again, for the possible DNI or head of the CIA. Tom Cotton from Arkansas could be one of the officials. Jamie Dimon, possible, as the Commerce Secretary. The well-known JP Chase Morgan CEO. Lee Zeldin, former congressman, well-liked, almost won the governorship of New York State. Jared Kushner, which would be fantastic. He was amazing with peace in the Middle East. So that's some of the people that Axios says he's looking at for his Trump's cabinet. But Melania wants Tucker. Quite interesting. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339. Would you want a Tucker Carlson for vice president with Trump? And who do you think should be his vice presidential candidate? And who do you want on a Trump cabinet with the Trump administration if he is elected? That's the questions for you. Now, I also want to get into the research that was released this was reported in the New York Times. And this was from a story. It was in the New York Times today, and it was talking about, the headline is, "This is Grim." And it is a study that they did. They took, they surveyed 2,500 people from every swing state for president, every swing district for Senate, not swing district, but swing state for president, swing state for Senate, and every swing district for Congress. All these vulnerable places. And they surveyed across the board all of these very, very liberal associations. Not associations, but people. And they surveyed folks. I'm going to get this down here. I got the exact quotation I want to do for you in here because it's something else. They surveyed the LGBTQ community, LGBTQ plus community. They surveyed, got it right here. Here we go. Let me go down a little bit because this is really something else. But they said that they surveyed 2,500 people James Carville, another well-known Democrat researcher and numbers cruncher and such, and they went to all these swing areas and they found out that the young people, Generation Z, LGBTQ plus, Black, Hispanic, like literally every single category that you would think would go Democrat, and women who are married, single women, college-educated women, and they all rate Trump higher than Biden in these swing areas. And so the analysis from the Democrat fundraiser, it was a Democrat analyst guy who crunches the numbers and does the surveys, in conjunction with James Carville, and his analysis in an email to the Democrats was, this is grim. So, I mean, it does not get worse than that. And I'm going to give you the exact quote and the names because I'm a little off on that. I got it right here. Okay. This is grim. Here you go. From November 5th through November 11th, Democracy Corps, a Democrat advisory group founded by Stan Greenberg and James Carville, surveyed, the New York Times reports, 2,500 voters in the presidential and Senate battleground states, as well as competitive House districts. In an email, Greenberg summarized the results. This is grim. The study, he said, found that collectively voters in the Democrat base of blacks, Hispanics, Asians, LGBTQ plus community, Gen Z, millennials, unmarried, and college women give Trump higher approval ratings than Biden. I mean, that's amazing. So, do you think Trump will beat Biden hands down? Is it now inevitable that it'll be Trump versus Biden and that Trump will win this time? And do you think Biden will step down? And do you think the Democrats can somehow get Joe Biden to step aside? We're going to talk about that coming up next. Across America, it's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Across America, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary McNamara, Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. This is grim for Democrats, they say. James Carville and another gentleman surveyed 2,500 voters, swing areas all over the country, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, gay community, Gen Z, millennials, unmarried, college women, giving Trump higher approval ratings than Biden. Wowie. So the question I'm asking is, do you think Trump beats Biden hands down? Is it inevitable it'll be Trump versus Biden? And do you think Biden, and will Trump win this time? I actually do think so. And I don't want to be rosy goggles and, starry-eyed and not be smart about this, but I do think so. And do you think Biden will step down? Do you think Democrats can get him to step aside? I don't think they can get him. I think his ego is massive. And I think also that that he will not. And it's him. He loves doing it, and Not a Dr. Jill also loves it almost as much as he does. All right, let's go to Ron. Ron, you are in Kansas City, and you're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Chris. This is the first time I've called the overnight show in Kansas City. I thought I like Kristi Noem for BP.
Yes,
but she got kind of weak-kneed during the transgender against women thing.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And I kind of faltered on her, but I've never faltered on Mike Pompeo. He just looked like somebody that was strong as Secretary of State, and I thought that that would always look good to Trump there.
I thought that Trump and him had a falling out of some sort, but if not, then Pompeo would be great.
Yeah, I've never heard. I've never really heard. Somehow that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
But I never got to the bottom of it.
Right.
What it was. But whenever I've heard Pompeo talk, he just refers to the Trump era as a good thing, and so I thought that does sound like loyal enough. In fact, I was kind of surprised about Steve Bannon and the cabinet thing because I thought Bannon and he had a falling out.
I don't know. I don't know on that either. But I will tell you this: people have totally come around to realizing no wars with Donald Trump, prosperity. No inflation, low inflation, and low gas prices, and tons of prosperity, and it is how our country has fallen apart horribly and quickly.
I'm a total Trump supporter, and I believe that if somebody can fix stuff, he's got the intellect to do it. He's a special intellect.
Appreciate your call very much. So I appreciate Kansas City, brother. Let's go to Robert in Malvern, Arkansas. You are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Robert.
Well, Mr. Cross, you posed the question, Tucker Carlson as VP.
Mm-hmm.
I will repose it to you. When Trump ran, someone said, "Why Donald Trump?" Donald Trump said, "Why not me?" So why not Tucker Carlson? They align. Both of them are boisterous, and neither one of them needs the money. So
neither one of them can be bridled in a good way.
Exactly. You can't hobble that horse.
Yeah. Well, however, I don't know if Tucker really would want to do that.
No, I don't think that he would, but I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No, it wouldn't be a bad thing, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I love that. Melania may have done it just to tweak people like Trump does things. You know what I mean? You never know. But anyway, I appreciate your call, Robert. Thank you. All right, John in Albany, stand by. Plus your call, 866-90 Red Eye, across America, Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
Across America, Red Eye Radio, Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90 Red Eye is our number, 866-907-3339. Two things. Axios reporting that the Trump Loyalty First cabinet is what they say. Picks may include Bannon and Miller, Stephen Miller and Bannon, but also J.D. Vance and Steve Bannon, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio. Kash Patel would be great. Stephen Miller's great. I love him. They're also saying that Tucker Carlson, according to Melania, she says he'd be great, but they also say for vice president could be Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She would be fantastic, honestly. I think J.D. Vance is great, but I'd like him as a senator, not as a cabinet member. I don't want to lose him in that. Byron Donalds, I love him. He's a really awesome African-American Republican from Florida, and he is a huge Trump supporter, and he is just perfect. He would be amazing. Melania wants Tucker, which I think is funny. I'd be fine with that, but that's funny. And then also others are going to come back. In addition to ones I mentioned for the cabinet, they have mentioned, Rick Grinnell, and he'll come back possibly as he was acting DNI. He could come back as Secretary of State. That's awesome. I think that'd be great. He is fantastic. John Ratcliffe again, which is fantastic. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase CEO. Lee Zeldin, Tom Cotton, Jared Kushner. Jared helped literally make this Middle East peace with Trump at the helm. So, I think it's already baked in the cake. It's going to be Trump on the nominee, and I think he's got a very good chance of beating Biden, and I don't think Biden's going to step aside. So some of the questions on this is, would you support Tucker for vice president with Trump? And who do you think should be his vice presidential candidate? And who would you want on his Trump cabinet? And then do you think, with this other analysis I've shared with you tonight, or this morning I should say, from November 5th to 11th, Democracy Corps, which is a Democrat advisory group founded by Stan Greenberg and James Carville, the Raging Cajun, they surveyed 2,500 voters in presidential and Senate battleground states and competitive House districts, and they found that blacks, Hispanics, Asians, LGBTQ plus community, Gen Z, millennials, unmarried, and college women give Trump higher approval ratings than Biden. It's incredible. And they sent out an email to the Democrat followers, and they said, this is grim. And it sure is. So on that same vein, do you think Trump will beat Biden hands down? Or is it now inevitable that it'll be Trump versus, is it now inevitable that it'll be Trump versus Biden and that Trump will win this time? And do you think Biden will step down? Do you think Democrats can actually get him to step aside? 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. I do not think they're going to get him to step aside. Biden he loves the plaudits and the laudits. He will never give it up. His hubris, his ego is his biggest Achilles heel. And I think that's what got him into the situation with his corruption with Hunter, and I think that he became lazy and entitled the second half of this whole lengthy corruption he's done with his son, and I think that'll get him jackpotted eventually. Might not be a while. But I also want us to remember, I love telling this story. I was in the middle of former President Barack Hussein Obama and Mrs. Hussein Obama's, in his camp, in the middle of his second run for president. I was at a men's retreat with my church, and I had a guy who got angry. He's like, he didn't understand what I knew. He's like, there's no way they're going to reelect him. He's failing. Look at this, all that. I'm like, dude, you take the glasses off, man. It's not you and me. It's not us. You're not seeing what everybody else. There's a lot of stupid people out there, and a lot of people that just follow him and love him and adore him. He's literally running the presidency now. This is his third term. All top Obama people running it underneath this, telling Biden what to do. And so people didn't see it because they're thought it was obvious. The people that were blinded on our side of it, more conservative folk, didn't see the truth. And so I don't want to say that Trump is going to win. I believe he will, but I don't want to say it with these rose-colored glasses that are biased and can't see the bigger picture, which is not in the Republican conservative sphere. It is the view that can take in all of it, and it's hard to do that for many of us, including me. I really do believe that this could be I don't know if it'll be a Reagan moment. It might end up being that, but I think this is so big because it's bigger. It's people's wallets. It's war going on. It is our weakness. It is our economy. People's wallets. Grocery prices. And we're being lied to and told, inflation's down. No, it's not, dude. It's 3.2%, but it's still 9% last year and 4.5% the previous year, and nothing's gone down, nor nothing will. We're still paying. And gas prices are low. Oh, they're lower than when? Oh, a year ago. Well, dude, it's still $1.38 last time I checked more per gallon, no matter how low it is right now, than when Joe Biden took over. And they're seeing Iran get billions to kill our Jewish brothers and sisters for Hamas and Hezbollah, and they're seeing a man who is feckless and who has caused two wars to take place, and we're on the precipice of World War III because of him. So I think we do have a very good chance of winning this time, but I don't want to be too rosy. What do you think, guys? What is the number? 866-90-RED-EYE. 866-907-3339. Let's go to John in Albany, New York, where there was a case of terrorism. Police took into custody a man who yelled, this is for Palestine, and shot 2 shotgun rounds he yelled Free Palestine outside of a synagogue, shooting 2 shotgun rounds at the synagogue today. So, sad stuff, John. Appreciate your call, sir, from Albany.
Hey, great to hear you. You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Let's start with your survey. I don't put one iota of thought towards that survey.
Okay.
I believe it's nothing but Democratic fake news. If this was such a, this is like the Dallas Cowboys talking about the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, wait, I can see talking about the Super Bowl.
Hey, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose, guys. And we're going to leak that out there, so they should think that we're weak. Remember, Rush Limbaugh used to say, surveys up until 2 weeks before the election tell you what they want you to believe.
Right.
And then in the last couple of weeks, they tell you the truth. So I don't put anything in that.
Good point.
I love Melania Trump. I think she's a brilliant lady. I don't want her picking anybody. She's the first lady. That's it.
I agree.
To be honest with you, Steve Bannon failed the first time around. One of Trump's downfalls was the people around him were not loyal. They were not good people.
Correct.
And I think if he gets in again, he's got to pick better. Vice President Lee Zeldin from New York. Lee Zeldin,
that would be
right now,
awesome.
Especially
I love Lee Zeldin.
What's going on in the country with the anti-Semitism and so on and so forth, he's going to carry a big Jewish vote. He's a very bright man. And I think he could help in New York.
So I didn't know this. So Lee Zeldin is Jewish. Lee Zeldin's Jewish? I didn't know that for sure. Okay, cool.
He is. He's from Long Island. He has a very strong backing. And Lee Zeldin almost did it in New York. He almost flipped the state.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I wanted that so badly. And he is such a leader.
Right, and
I love that guy.
I think with what's going on, you got a lot of Jewish people that are out there saying, who do we want? And they've seen what's happened. Our best ally that we've ever had in the history of this country, people in America trying to go against them. Come on, give me a break.
Yes.
And if anything, we should be out there helping Israel any way we can.
You know what, too? And by the way, Joe Biden, the day after he came out, remember when he said earlier in the war, he said, I don't believe those numbers from Hamas. And then the next day, he went privately to 3 so-called Muslim leaders and apologized to them and said, please, I didn't know what I was saying. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. And he hugged one of them. Like, he genuinely, bowed.
Well, one thing, too. Don't ever think for a minute Joe Biden's making any decision, number one. Number two, Obama's not making any decisions. Did you read Jason Chaffin's book, The Puppeteers?
No.
Okay. I want you to get a copy of it. The Puppeteers by Jason Chaffetz. Okay? And I don't know how much hair you got. I've never seen your picture, but if you have any hair...
I've got a full head of hair, my friend.
Okay.
You can see my picture on my Twitter profile, and you can follow me at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show, ChrisKrok.
All right. I will do that. Chaffetz talks about the puppeteers. They are the people that are running BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street.
Right.
They're the biggest funds in the country.
Correct.
If you read the first 4 chapters of that book, it will give you a whole different outlook on all of this stuff, okay? And really, as you know, with Joe, we got Breakfast at Bernie's there. They got him propped up. You know what? If that man was told in public by a boss, like in a job, you better get to work right now, anybody that saw that would call that elder abuse. They would call it elder abuse. The poor man doesn't even know where he is half the time.
Half the time, you're right.
No, he should not be out there. Not at all. Not at all. But they're stuck. They're stuck. Because if they take him out, then
he will not. He will not surrender this offer. He will not stop. He is convinced he's the only one, and he's the only one. And it was so funny because he even said the other day, as you know, that he literally said at a Democrat fundraiser, and as Dana Perino said on the 5, she's like, when these behind closed doors at fundraisers are when they say the truth. And he says that he's not sure if he would have been running if Trump wasn't rerunning. And then the next day he had to walk it back. So he was he said he was not sure if he would even ran if Trump wasn't running again. meaning he knows he's really needs to hang it up here. But now that Trump did he's going to, and then the next day he walked that back, so he's not sure if he's unsure. He is that far of a. Actually, hold on. It's not that he's that far gone. It's that he's that indecisive and unsure of anything. He was that way, I think, 10, 20 years ago. All right, now coming up next, I want to talk to, we've got Kurt in Michigan City, Indiana, talks about Tucker. We got Tim in Milwaukee, the great city of Milwaukee, where they just said they're no longer going to be picking up Christmas trees anymore. Used to be able to leave them out for your garbage afterwards. It's just a sad place that's going on there with what's going on with their politics and the decay of such. But we'll talk to both Tim and Kurt coming up next, plus your call. 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Across America, it's Chris Krok in for Gary and Eric on Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary across America, Red Eye Radio. Let's go to Tim in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, which is of course Milwaukee. Tim, you're on Red Eye Radio.
Hi. Doing a good job here. Hey, I got I don't know if this will happen or not, but I think a spectacular pick for Vice President would be Mike Pompeo.
Mike Pompeo?
That guy he just exudes confidence and knowledge, and he's been in just about every part of the world, dissecting it in the past under Trump. Before.
I agree, and I've always liked him. However, I thought they may have had a falling out, but I could be wrong on that.
They did, but falling outs are able to heal for the better of the country.
And good people are hard to find, and Pompeo is very good. I agree with you, friend. Thank you very much. Let's go to Kurt in Michigan City, Indiana. Kurt, you're on Red Eye Radio.
Hey, good morning. Regarding Tucker Carlson, I think not. And the reason is because, if you recall, before he got the Kiwi injection from Fox News...
Kiwi, would you say the Kiwi injection?
Yes, the Kiwi injection.
I've never heard of that, but I heard the shaft.
Kiwi boot polish. Insert boot in rear end and out the toe.
I'm thinking
injection.
of the fruit.
We use that in the military.
I got you. That's great,
injection,
brother.
Boot polish. Yeah.
There you go.
So if you recall, in those emails that came out that were leaked out between him, Sean Hannity, and Laura Ingraham, I believe. Tucker said that Trump is either insane or nuts. I think he said he was insane. It was either insane or nuts, one of the two.
Well, Tucker
think that Tucker
has publicly said that the moment that Trump was raided, that he immediately said he's voting for him and became a complete supporter. And he says if he gets jailed, he will donate to his campaign to the fullest extent and march for him. So that's about as supportive as you can get. Appreciate your call.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now it's Red Eye Radio with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show from the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok. This is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it is Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They will be back after a long weekend. They'll be back, of course, Sunday night into Monday morning. And it's always a thrill and a pleasure working with you and being here through the night. And it's kind of cool. So we're going to get into a couple things. We're going to first get into Hunter Biden, breaking tonight, is into this morning, of course. Hunter Biden facing new indictment in California. And depending on who you listen to and how big of a deal this is to you and whatever, but depending on what you read, this supposedly is a really big deal. You can probably tell I already don't think it is, and I'll tell you why in a second. But the Central District of California, Los Angeles, California, federal grand jury handing down a 9-count indictment for a 4-year scheme to not pay at least $1.4 million in federal taxes between 2016 and 2019. They say that Hunter Biden spent millions on an extravagant lifestyle, including membership to sex clubs, more than $188,000 on adult entertainment, rather than paying his taxes. And Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty in October as well to federal gun charges in the District of Delaware. Now, here's why I do not think this is going to, this is not the end-all, be-all, and people that are excited about this shouldn't be, in my opinion. Because it's kind of a, oops, look at this, guys. I would love to come I would love to come and testify in front of the House. Because they again came out this morning, the House, James Comer and Jim Jordan and James Comer came out again and said, listen, you will be testifying. And they sent him a subpoena. You're subpoenaed. You're going to show up Wednesday morning, a week from 2 days ago. So what, in 6 days from now? That he's going to be testifying at 9:30 in the morning, Wednesday morning. And this is not a public one in front of the country on television. This is a closed-door one. And this is where you can be asked 400 questions for hours and hours on end until every question is answered over and over again until, it's a deposition for as long as it takes. And with Hunter, it's going to take a long, long time, as we know. Hundreds and hundreds of questions. What Hunter, the game he played with his attorneys is, he would love to testify. He'll testify, but not behind the scenes where you can falsely report what was said or, edit it out. He will testify in public at a public hearing. And they said, no, you're not going to do that. Yeah, you'll have a public hearing later, but this is not going to be a public hearing. This is a behind closed doors testimony with deposition, which same thing as the public one. It's under the penalty of perjury. But here's the thing. Hunter wants to do the public one because the public one is only 5 minutes long, that each representative that would have him under oath is 5 minutes long, and he will stall. It'll be a clown show. That's all it'll be. And he'll be irreverent and play games with them, and that's all that is. He'll do that, but he will not do one where he actually is asked hundreds of questions. And when he evades it, he'll say, well, what about this? What about that? Okay, well, this happened. Well, wait, you said this, but now you're saying this. Which one is it here? You're under oath. That's how you nail him, because he can't hide. And they'll just keep asking him questions until they get the answer they require. And if he contradicts himself, then he has to either say he was wrong or I'm wrong. I was wrong about that. And then did you lie? That's where we can get in big trouble. And he was not going to do that. And so they were going to hold him in contempt. And if you hold him in contempt, that means they can arrest him and put him in jail. And that's exactly what the Biden Department of Justice did to, I can't remember the Trump official now, Steve Bannon. They put him in jail, and they ended up putting him in solitary confinement. It's unbelievable what they did to him. And they would be able to jail Hunter Biden and say, you're going to testify, and until then, we're going to keep you in the jail. I mean, it's how anybody else would be treated. You cannot refuse to testify if you're subpoenaed by Congress. But then guess what happened? Oh, so this morning they said we're going to do a subpoena. We're going to subpoena you. You will testify. And then, this afternoon what comes out? Oh, gee, guys, I'd love to testify. I was ready to testify, guys, but gee, can you believe it? Oh, no. I just got indicted. I'm not going to incriminate myself. I plead the fifth here because now I have a criminal trial coming up, and I'm not going to incriminate myself. Excuse me. How convenient! All these nice things conveniently happen, don't they? Gee, with Trump. Oh gosh, we're about to do this with Joe, or this is about bomb's about to drop with Joe. Oh, Trump's indicted. This bomb's about to drop with Joe. Oh, we're going to raid Mar-a-Lago. You name it, the timing of so many things aligns so well, and it just all is a coincidence, isn't it? So, I do. And second of all, I heard Brett Tolman, former U.S. attorney, on Fox Thursday night, and he really confirmed it for me. He's like, "Now they're going to give him a slap on the wrist. Hunter will refuse to testify in front of Congress under oath, behind closed doors, and he'll plead the fifth, and then he won't be saying anything, and he'll be able to point to the criminal trial coming up." And I heard somebody I work with at my home station of WBAP, a proud Red Eye Radio affiliate in Dallas-Fort Worth. You can listen to my show weekday nights at WBAP.com. But we talked about this too, is so they're going to say, well, gee, I can't testify. And then somebody with me that works for me said earlier, before the show started tonight, in the previous night, and Thursday night, they said, oh, well, this is going to take Joe Biden down. And I'm like, what? Yeah, this is going to do Joe Biden. And I said, how? And, well, this will bring Biden down with him now. And I don't think so at all. I think this is the perfect design by the Justice Department to make Hunter unavailable. And this isn't going to bring Joe in on it because it doesn't bring Joe into the charges. Joe's going to say, my son's innocent, he's incredible, it's all lies, even though we have pictures of him with these people, these business partners. He's got 300 plus emails with one of Hunter's, Schwerin, Eric Schwerin, I think it was, or Devin Archer, one of those, Eric Schwerin. And he's met with these people dozens of times, these business partners in the White House when he was vice president's office. And it's all obvious. But he'll just keep lying openly. Oh, it's a lie. I was no pictures of. I don't know. They should show him the picture with him and them, and they go, "Hey, well, here you are with them." Well, I don't know. That's a lie. Just keep walking. But he's just going to keep saying he has no idea. He's not involved with it. He has no idea about his son's business, and he's innocent. Did nothing wrong. Great kid, brilliant genius. And I think they're going to give him a slap on the wrist. What they're not doing is they're not charging Hunter for a FARA violation, Foreign Agent Registration Act, which he absolutely did. He had foreign lobbying and made millions and tens of millions of dollars in selling his dad's influence. But he made 20 to 27 million, I believe, between 2014 and 2015, and they're not bringing that up. And by the way, there is no statute of limitations on your taxes when you lied. And you did fraud. You committed fraud with your taxes. And he did. So they're not prosecuting 2014 and 2015 where there are tens of millions of dollars of income that he didn't report. Because that would be a whole nother level. And they ain't going to do that. And they didn't do that. So they're not doing FARA. They're not doing 2014 and 2015. And this is only $1.4 million in federal taxes. And what's going to happen? The sugar daddy, again, from that attorney / entertainment guy or producer guy that's a sugar daddy, is going to pay off the fine, and they'll give him some supervision. Oh, but he's got the gun charge. They're not going to put him in jail for the gun charge. I don't think so. So I want to ask you about that. hear your thoughts on that as well at Red Eye Radio. Do you think Hunter will actually use these new charges today to get out of testifying for the House subpoena? And do you think this is a sweetheart deal for Hunter? And do you think this will take down Joe Biden? 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339, 866-907-3339. So I think this is absolutely the perfect excuse provided by the Biden Justice Department to keep him from having to say anything in the subpoena for the House. That way he won't get nailed under oath. And I think it's a sweetheart deal because it keeps him quiet now for a year or so. And I think that Joe will, if Joe does not win the election in that last month of his presidency, between losing election and leaving office, he will pardon Hunter. And I think that if Joe stays in the office and somehow wins, which would be unbelievable and very sad for the country and for him, I think that Hunter will get a slap on the wrist. And I do not think this will take down Joe because he'll just deny it all. And unless he loses the White House, no, this isn't going to take him down. He's got everything rigged with his Justice Department, and the media will cover for him. They always do, and they always will. Orange Man bad. That'll keep playing. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339. Also coming up next, I wanted to get into this one too. The UNLV gunman is ID'd, and it is not the normal profile from what we've seen. I want to get into what we've learned about this guy who is accused of, well, he's dead. It's unbelievable, though. He does not fit any of the profiles. And there was no AR-15, no weapons of war. So we'll get into all that. I'll give you the details of that case. Also, coming up next, it's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about 1/2 a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary McNamara, Eric Harley. They're having a little time off. They'll be back on Sunday night and Monday. All right, so Hunter Biden indicted on 9 counts of tax evasion. Do you actually think Hunter will use this to get out of testifying for the House subpoena, as I totally believe? He'll just plead the 5th now. And do you think it's a sweetheart deal for Hunter, as I do? And you think it'll actually take down Joe Biden, as some think, but I don't think. I wanted to get to, before we get into the Las Vegas shooter, in a minute we're going to get into some of the Republican debates and some new announcements from CNN about more debates. I'm like, are you kidding me? We'll get to all that in a second. But first, let's go to James in Tampa. James, you are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, James.
Hi, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
I just my quick question was, I know everyone's focused on Hunter Biden and him taking the fifth now to get out of testifying before Congress. But what about Joe Biden's brother? He's not the one. He hasn't been indicted. And the intention was for him also to be called before Congress or to testify behind closed doors. So that's not going to work for him. He has no basis to take the fifth on anything because he hasn't been indicted.
Yeah, James is definitely looking like he's in trouble because there's a lot of bad stuff with him. It just hasn't been sniffed out. And it's funny because there was like a chief legal analyst, Breitbart was reporting on CNN, who said that tonight, or last night into this morning, said that this judge that was asking questions, the Delaware judge, messed it all up. I mean, he was minutes away from getting off, and it took a Trump-appointed judge, the only one who was not biased in this, to say this. Wait a minute, and she was just asking normal questions like, "Hey, you can't have the onus be on me to make sure that he follows probation. That's not a judge's job. This has never been done before." And then, "Hey, what is this with this deal for him? I've never seen a deal like this before. Can you point to any time in the history of the Justice Department in this country ever making a deal like this?" And they said, "No, we cannot." And so there were too many questions that were asked. They were actually innocuous, basic questions. They weren't meant to like, "Well, I'm gonna prove you wrong." It was just like, "Hey, what about this? What about this? I've never seen this before." And it wasn't even like outrage or anything. It was just like, "This doesn't make sense to me. This is not normal." So she literally killed the sweetheart deal. Now, why would we trust, though, James? Why would we trust the same people that brought the sweetheart deal that are now going to prosecute this for real? Do you actually think that's going to happen? I don't think so. Do you?
No, I mean, I agree absolutely that the fix is in, so to speak. But in terms of trying to get Joe Biden's brother James, tying him to the president, they could still push. Congress should still be pushing forward to have him testify.
Yes, and they will.
He has no basis to take the fifth.
Correct, and they will. And I do great point on that. And they will. And I think that I also heard two people that were speculating this on Fox were saying that are more experts in this realm, like as far as legal analysts. They said that he won't have a good way to get out, and that he probably will. And he's going to have a lot of stuff to answer for, too. He wasn't as he's horribly corrupt, but he wasn't as weak, I think, as Hunter with the drugs and basically, Joe Biden pimped out his son and had him do all the dirty work. James was happy to, too, but he's a brother, And I'm not saying Hunter's a victim. He's not. He's 3 years old,
That's absolutely right. But I mean, the main thing is connecting the dots with the money. It's the money, right, that came from China and all these other countries, and some of that went through James Biden as well.
Oh, it totally did. I appreciate your call. Great point, brother. All right, our number is 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Coming up next on Red Eye Radio, we're going to get into the Republican presidential primary debates. Two more with CNN.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
Across America, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back, of course, Sunday night to Monday morning. So, lines wide open for you at 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. And we're talking about the Hunter Biden indictment. And I think it's going to shield him. He's not going to be testifying for any House subpoena anymore. He'll say up, plead the fifth. And I do think it's going to be a sweetheart deal. Do you really think the same federal prosecutor who rigged it and was about to give him a deal that's never been done in the history of this country and the Justice Department. And when asked a few simple questions, could not answer, and the whole deal blew up because it was a sweetheart deal that nobody will ever get. Do you really think he's going to all of a sudden hold his feet to the fire now? I don't think so. And it's a perfect timing release today, the afternoon after he's about to get subpoenaed. Oh, he's being subpoenaed and forced to show up under the threat of being arrested and put in jail for refusing to testify behind closed doors. So now he's got the perfect out. And I don't think this is going to take Joe Biden down, not just yet. I just don't think that's going to happen. Eventually it could, and I hope it does, and it should, but we'll see. But the other thing I wanted to get into is and before we get into this UNLV gunman, this is pretty fascinating. We've got some interesting information on that, but I did want to touch on the Republican debates. Can you believe this? CNN is just announced they're going to host 2 more Republican presidential debates. Can you believe it? Do we need 2 more of these things? We've had 4. I mean, my gosh. If this was like a Catholic church, it'd be called Our Lady of the Perpetual Debates. I mean, what is this? Now, I did think about this. And I thought, well, if it was just Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, then it would be worth it because those are the only 2 people that have a shot. Chris Christie does not have a shot at anything other than attacking Donald J. Trump. And it's just a nuisance. Vivek Ramaswamy is hysterical. And, I mean, he literally turned himself into a homicide bomber. He's like lighting his hair on fire and just lighting a bomb and, strapping to his chest and jumping in the middle of everybody going, ah! It's fun to watch. It's funny. It is a little off-putting sometimes. But, dude, he ain't gonna win. Now, look, I hope that Trump puts him in as his, Commerce Secretary or something like that, or HUD, some kind of a cabinet-level position because he's a brilliant businessman and such. But, dude, I mean, no, he's not. He's, at this point, he's just lighting his hair on fire and strapping a bomb on and jumping in the middle of the crowd. And it's interesting, amusing. We'll play a little. Actually, I'm going to play a few kind of highlights that were put together of the debates. Let's see here. I got a few of them. And, let's just play this one.
We learned 3 things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. Yeah. So do everybody a favor. Just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race. When it comes to Nikki, I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go die in somebody else's war, you better, excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't heard the time when you weren't
and we're going to be done. So listen up to this. If these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction.
All right, that was one little piece. Here's another one. This is kind of funny.
But it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem.
He's holding up a sign. And not a sign, but it's like a legal notepad. It says Nikki equals corrupt. She doesn't say anything. And apparently she took the strategy of, I'll just let him look like a jerk or something like that. But dude, I mean, I've never seen her speechless. She's usually good with swinging back. She didn't do any of that this time. It's quite amusing. I mean, I can't lie to you. And there's a few other highlights. It's fun to do this because it's kind of very entertaining. Here's some like kind of montage that Fox put together. There's a few of them.
You have other candidates up here like Nikki Haley. She caves anytime the left comes after her, anytime the media comes after her. These Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors.
The only person more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an ID. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house.
And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them. I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that.
All right, here's some more.
This is the fourth debate that you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America. So shut up for a little while.
Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. Yeah. So do everybody a favor. Just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race.
Enjoy a nice meal. Is that a way, mentioning his weight, I guess? Probably. Here we go.
Father Time is undefeated. The idea that we're going to put someone up there that's almost 80 and there's going to be no effects from that, we all know that that's not true.
I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit.
Right, yeah. Trump is orange man bad. So I don't see how another 2 debates. I mean, when I saw this, I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? They're going to be in January. Ooh, CNN says in their story tonight about it, including one just before the Iowa caucuses. Now, in here's where I actually go, well, wait a minute, because there's actually going to be, you have to have the CNN debates will only be people who have qualified for 3 polls that are national kind of, they say like credited or something like that, like top polls. And so the only people that have qualified, right, you have to get 10% or more in 3 national polls. And they say the only 2 people that have qualified by that, surprise, 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 will be Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. They both hit 10% at least 3 qualifying polls, including one of likely caucus goers in Iowa. That's how you can do it. So that does switch it to maybe it'll be interesting, because now those are the only 2 people that have a chance at beating Trump, and they're not going to. Everybody knows it. They're at 12%. They're lucky 14, and Trump's at 60 or 54. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But do you think, ask you a few questions here, do you think we need 2 more debates, really? And who do you think is winning the race for the Republican presidential nominee? And who do you think won the debate? We're just playing some of the highlights from that are kind of fun to watch, just to have some popcorn, sit back, and like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. But I think my analysis of Vivek Ramaswamy strapping on, lighting his hair on fire, self-immolating and strapping on a bomb and just jumping in the middle of everybody like a homicide bomber, just is about right. It is fun though to listen to him, but it's also like, wow, dude, woo! You're not running for election; you're running to be like a Trump supporter taking out his competition, kind of, not kind of, totally. All right, so do you think we need 2 more debates? Do you think that seeing Haley versus DeSantis will be good? I think it'll be interesting, but I mean, if it's just these 2, it's going to be interesting moderately, but they're not going to get it. Everybody knows it. Seeing the other people in there again would be like ridiculous. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. That's 866-907-3339. We'll take your calls on this coming up next, and I'll also give you some details on this UNLV gunman who, this is not the normal gunman you're used to seeing. and he doesn't fit any of the profiles we're used to seeing. And there's no AR-15 this time. All that coming up next. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio. What a privilege to fill in for them from time to time. I'll be with you again towards the new year, which I can't believe this already, but was it 3 weeks away or so, 4 weeks away? It's insane, guys. Literally can't believe it's already December 8th. Wowie, wowie. Okay, so let's play a little more from the debate. It's quite fun to see this. And here's Ron DeSantis on a moment I want to play and describe to you what this is. And this is on my Twitter feed. You can see it among all the highlights at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show. I'm normally, my weekday show, my weeknight show is at WBAP in Dallas, Fort Worth, and we're a proud Red Eye Radio affiliate. And here's Ron DeSantis, and he is acting like he's angry, but he's not, and it's clear.
You've got to be willing to stand strong, and you've got to be willing to beat these people. I'm the only one running for president that has beaten these people on issue after issue. We beat the teachers' unions when we did school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID.
He's acting. Now, I think he's right, and I agree with him, and he did, and he is the best governor we have in this country. And he's a bold leader, and I really mean that. And he, when he did the COVID stuff, and, excuse me there, when he did the COVID stuff and he reopened First in the Nation, I marveled at it, and I said at the time, when a lot of us were still hoodwinked, I said, he's either brilliant and an amazing leader, or he is going to get his butt handed to him, and boy, is he a brilliant, amazing leader. But this thing where he's, we beat the teacher, and he points down at the ground, we beat this, like he lifts his arm up and then he points down, but it's fake. And I didn't fully understand this until if you actually watch him, he is totally not able to connect with us. And I do think after Trump that he will be a great president. He can't be the vice president because they're from the state. They both live in the same state. It's an elector thing or something. But, yeah. So do you really think we need two more debates? Although I will say between DeSantis and Haley, it will be interesting, which is the two top people. Very interesting. Hopefully it'll be a bunch of ideas and not personal ad hominem attacks, even though it's fun watching Vivek Ramaswamy blow himself up and light his hair on fire. But it doesn't accomplish anything. Chris Christie's a joke. I mean, all he is a never Trump guy. If he didn't go after Trump all the time, didn't hate Trump so much, he's a great debater. He's a great street fighter. But dude, what is this crap? That's all he does. All right, so do you really think we need two more debates? And who do you think is winning the race for Republican presidential nomination? And who do you think won the debate with the Republicans right now? Do you really need two more, though? George in Texarkana, you are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, George.
Hi, how are you doing this morning?
Good, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm just out here trucking. I've been trucking for over 49 and a half years, and I've never seen or heard so much stuff in my life. I believe that the Bidens and the Democratic Party are nothing but mafia people. All this murdering and back and forth. No, Biden should not be able to claim the fifth. I just don't believe that because they're all
Hunter
people. They're mafia.
You mean Hunter Biden? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In the subpoena for the House.
Right. I mean, he should not be able to claim the fifth. If he claims the fifth, then they ought to put him in jail because he knows he's
Well,
corrupt.
They will, and they could, but now he's going to say, I plead the fifth. Sure, I'll show up, and I'll plead the fifth because he's got a criminal case. So that's why I think it was an assist to really put this prosecution through today, last night. That's the fact on that, brother. That's what I think. I appreciate your call. Truck safely. You're in God's country, and you make this country run, brother. Thank you.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.